The Baba Ghoulie Show is brought to you by OTR Halloween Holidays.
Suspense. This is the Man in Black, here again to introduce Columbia's program, Suspense. Heading our Star Hollywood cast tonight is Mr. Warren William, and with him is Mr. Eric Blore. No fewer than 9 times have these two gentlemen appeared together in screen thrillers based on the adventures of one of the most celebrated characters of modern crime fiction. This familiar character will speak to you now for the first time on the air, as with the story called Murder Goes for a Swim, and the performances of Warren William as Michael Lanyard and Eric Blore as Jameson. We again hope to keep you in suspense.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Allow me to introduce myself. Nowadays, meeting me on the street, you'd most likely recognize me as Michael Lanyard, an author of sorts. But if you'll not be too free with the information, because I've been at some pains to allow bygones to be bygones, I was once known rather well by quite a different name. And there are still times when I find myself obliged, or should I say forced, to return to that character, to resort to the somewhat questionable talents of the lone wolf. As a matter of fact, my presence here this evening is prompted by an uncontrollable desire to reminisce a little. Hey, Jameson?
Oh, quite right, Mr. Lanyard. And if you'll pardon a gentleman's gentleman for saying so, sir, playing nip and tuck with the police, meeting lovely ladies, you pilfering an occasional gem, I living, so to speak, from hand to pocket. Ha ha! Those were the days, sir.
Yes, those were the days.
Absconding at times. Perhaps a touch of embezzlement here and there.
Now, hold on, Jameson. If we're going to reminisce in public, I suggest we confine our recollections to our later period, when the lone wolf had become a gentleman of leisure and used his talents in the interests of law and order.
In that case, sir, I suggest you relate the episode of our little experience at that horrible party we attended at that Long Island estate. Remember, sir?
Of course, Jameson, the Rutherford Barnes estate. If I remember correctly, the occasion was some sort of charity bazaar. We were invited for the weekend. The phone rang just as we were about to leave the apartment.
Mr. Lanyard, this is Betty Lawson. You've never heard of me before, but I know you've been invited to spend the weekend with Mr. Rutherford Barnes. Please, you must accept the invitation. Come down immediately, right now. It's just a little after 2 o'clock. And if you're not too late, the lone wolf may be able to prevent a murder.
Jameson and I arrived at the Barnes estate a bare 2 hours after we'd received the mysterious telephone message. I was introduced to all kinds of people. First, the famous gossip columnist, Ralph Clinton.
Well, Mr. Lanyard, this is indeed a surprise, and I might say a pleasant addition to our little gathering. Something always happens when you're lone wolfing around. Oh, I know, you've reformed. But a fellow can hope for a little excitement, can't he? See you later, old man.
Then I met a very, very beautiful young lady.
Oh, Mr. Lanyard, we haven't met yet. I'm Cynthia Waring. I've read all your stories and admired the ingenious way you solve those baffling mysteries. I think you're wonderful, really.
And, of course, there was our host himself, Mr. Rutherford Barnes, who had recently announced his engagement to Miss Waring.
I believe you've met just about everyone, Lanyard. That is, everyone except Bill Hodges. He's the firebrand of our little congregation. He's probably wandering around walking off the effects of the last 10 cocktails. Just make yourself comfortable.
Strangely enough, I failed to meet a Miss Betty Larson, the frightened young lady who had phoned. Anyway, the afternoon wore on through the beauty contest at which I was elected to preside as judge, and at which Miss Cynthia Waring, looking very pretty in a big picture hat and hoop skirt, was the winner. After it was over, Jameson and I managed to break away from the rest of the guests, and to escape the heat of the afternoon, we prepared ourselves for a cooling dip in the pool.
I say, Mr. Lanyard, we've been to some pretty big and fancy places in our day, but this one is really something. This Rutherford Barnes person must be really an important person.
You're quite right, Jameson. Rutherford Barnes is listed in Who's Who as the gentleman who made a fortune out of sardines. Just think, an entire estate built of sardines.
Uncanny, isn't it,
Oh,
sir?
Jameson.
Forgive me, sir. No more puns, I promise.
Well, I should hope so.
I say, this pool is constructed just like a miniature lake. Lilies and all that sort of thing floating on top.
Quite naturally, if you're going down for the third time, you just take a lily with you.
Oh, what a jolly thought. Well, here goes. Watch this beautiful swan dive. I say, this is most unusual. There's a sort of a mermaid lying on the bottom of the pool. And she's very pretty, sir.
Last night it was a barmaid. Today it's a mermaid.
No, but really, sir.
Well, I'm the judge in the beauty contest. I'd better go down and have a look.
Don't be away too long, sir. Remember, there are lots of warmer women in the world.
Jameson, quick. Here, give me a hand.
Good heavens. It's a girl.
Quick, here, lift her out of here. Hurry.
I'm doing my best,
I'll
sir.
get stand. Here, now, let's put her down here.
You hold her there, sir. Yes,
Jameson, I'm afraid she's dead.
Well, what do you make of it, sir? What, was it an accident?
Well, I don't know. There's a pretty nasty bump on the side of her head.
Well, perhaps she slipped and hit her head as she fell.
Perhaps. But her bathing suit, not quite the style you'd put on to take a swim.
Possibly she was in the beauty contest.
Of course, that's it. The program listed 10 contestants, yet only 9 girls competed.
Meaning what, Mr. Lanyard?
Meaning, Jameson, that this poor kid was the 10th contestant. And if my hunch is correct, her name is Betty Larson.
The girl with the telephone message?
Precisely. And if her call was on the level, we did arrive too late, and she was murdered.
Mr. Lanyard!
Mr. Lanyard!
It's Mr. Barnes and Miss Waring. Take off your robe and cover up the body, Jameson.
Yes, sir.
Well, Lanyard, we've been looking all over for you, haven't we, Cynthia, dear?
Yes, of course. And I'm glad we found you, Mr. Lanyard. I've been wanting to thank you for awarding me the prize in the beauty contest this afternoon. I really didn't think that... Mr. Lanyard! There, at the edge of the pool.
Yes, it's a girl, and I'm afraid she's drowned.
Drowned? But... Oh, how horrible.
Well, but how did it happen? Who is she?
I think she's Betty Larson. What do you think, Mr. Barnes? Here, look.
Oh, good heavens.
Look.
Yes. Yes, that is Betty Larson. Why, I had no idea.
Then you do know the girl, Mr. Barnes.
Why, yes. As a matter of fact, only recently I recommended her for a job. She's the local telephone operator.
And the village beauty. Mr. Barnes and Miss Larson were childhood sweethearts.
Mr. Barnes, tell me, do any of the other guests know this girl? Ralph Clinton, for instance. Could our famous columnist have possibly known Miss Larson?
Well, if not in person, most certainly by telephone. You see, for the last few weeks, Miss Larson handled my personal calls.
I see. Did she ever mention the fact that there might be a murder?
Murder?
Well, you see, I received a rather strange message.
Now, look here, Lanyard. If you're insinuating that Miss Larson was murdered, you're all wrong. It's perfectly obvious. She slipped and fell into the deep end of the pool. She can't swim. We couldn't hear her cry for help over the noise of the party, so the poor girl drowned.
As simple as that, eh?
Why, of course. And I'd appreciate it if you'd be kind enough not to mention this accident to any of the other guests. There's no need to disrupt the entire weekend. I'll notify the sheriff and call the coroner, and they'll take care of everything. I think it might be a good idea, Mr. Lanyard, since you seem so certain that a murder's been committed, that you and your man remain on the premises. Our famous lone wolf may have a little explaining of his own to do. Come along, Cynthia.
Oh, I'm completely at sea, Mr. Lanyard. The sheriff seems to think the whole thing was an accident, that this Miss Betty Larson person dived into the pool and that's how she hit her head.
I doubt that, Jemison. According to Barnes, the girl couldn't swim.
Hey, buddy.
Oh, I think we have company.
Buddy.
Yeah?
If you see Mr. Barnes around, I want to see him.
I think he's over at the other side of the house, getting things ready for the bazaar.
Bizarre. They don't care how they celebrate a murder, do they?
If I'm not mistaken, you're Mr. Bill Hodges, eh?
Yeah. Betty Larson and I were going to get married. Everything was great until she starts going around with this society bunch. I got a few things to settle with that society crowd. Especially that keyhole peeper, Ralph Clinton.
You seem quite positive, Hodges, that your girl was murdered.
Well, what do you think it was, an accident? That girl could swim like a fish. Nothing could happen to her in the water.
Yeah, but Barnes says she couldn't swim a stroke.
I said she could swim like a fish.
But Barnes says...
Did you hear me, you little runt?
Amazing how that girl could swim.
Look here, Hodges. What makes you think Ralph Clinton had anything to do with this? Do you know you're practically accusing him of murder?
Listen, Betty stood me up twice last week. I followed her in my car, and she met Clinton both times. He was going to put her in this contest, and she was a cinch to win. He promised her. Then look what happens to her. She's dead. Murdered, I tell you.
Well, here comes Clinton now. Maybe you'd better tell him about it.
Oh, there you are, Hodges. I understand you've been looking for me.
Yeah, I have. And now I'm going to fix that pretty face of yours.
Wait a second. Here, you can't do that. Here, Jemison, help me break this up.
I will as soon as they stop punching me.
Hey, don't be a fool, Hodges. Stop it. Stop it, I say.
All right. All right, let go of me. Let go.
Oh, thanks, Mr. Lanyard. This man's a maniac.
Okay. But I'm warning you, Clinton. I'll see you again. When you ain't got your friends around.
Personally, I don't know whether the girl was killed or not, but if she was, our friend there, Hodges, will have a lot of explaining to do.
You mean you've got something on him, Mr. Clinton?
Well, when I was discussing the contest with Betty Larson a few days ago, she told me that Hodges had warned her not to enter it. It seems he was afraid that if she won, it might go to her head and she'd walk out on him. As a matter of fact, he told her to stay away from here.
Well, there's going to be a coroner's inquest in the morning, and I suggest that you tell this to the sheriff as soon as he returns.
Oh, why, tell that to the sheriff? Oh, no, I'd rather hate to do that. You see, Lanyard, someone in my position, I can't afford to get involved. After all, it's my business to report scandal and not get mixed up in it.
But look here, you...
Oh, tell you what, give me a chance to think it over, and I'll see you at the treasure hunt tonight.
Oh, dear. 2 in the morning, Mr. Lanyard. What a ghastly hour to go tramping over the ground. Must we participate in this treasure hunt?
Of course, it's all a part of the weekend. Come in.
Well, it's the witching hour, Mr. Lanyard. Here's your envelope with the clues for the treasure hunt. You'd better hurry. Everybody's ahead of you.
Thank you, Mr. Clinton. We'll catch up.
Fine. This ought to be very interesting. Seeing the lone wolf stalking down his prey.
You know very well, Clinton.
Oh, sure. I forgot. You're not the lone wolf anymore. You're just nice, innocent Mr. Lanyard. Well, good hunting. See you later.
Well, here you are, Jameson. This is our clue. Go ahead, read it.
Under the oak and under the cover, where have met many a lover, light a match and look deep down, find your clue and win your crown. I say, isn't that lovely?
Can you decipher it?
Oh, of course, sir. It means, well, it means, well...
Exactly, Jameson, the old well. That's where we'll find the next clue. Come on, let's get going. The well is down this path. It's right near the stables.
You mean when we get to the well, we find another clue?
That's right, and at the end is when we reach the treasure.
Oh, the treasure. I say, what is this treasure?
Jameson, it's unimportant what the treasure is. It might be a bag of jelly beans.
It all sounds very silly to me, sir. There's the well over there. And look here. It's got a wooden cover on it, exactly like it said on the poem. Well, what do we do now?
Now, wait a minute. Oh, yes, under the cover. Light a match and look deep down. Here, I'll take this lid off and put it here. Now, you light a match, Jameson.
Right, sir.
Our second clue must be somewhere inside the well.
Right, ho, just a moment.
Ah, there's the clue we're looking for. A piece of paper pinned on the wall inside the well with a big pin.
Oh, dash it all. Match went out. I'll light another one.
Oh, Jameson, hold it. Hold it. The inside of this well smells like gasoline.
Yes, it does. Yes, it does smell like it's full of...
Get away, Jameson. Blow that match out.
Are you all right, Mr. Lanyard?
Yes, and no thanks to you.
Oh, I couldn't help it, sir. If you ask me, we walked right into a trap.
And quite obviously. Here,
Oh.
let me help you up.
Oh, thank you, sir. Oh, if I'd had any idea... Ouch!
Well, now what's the matter?
Oh, I've been stabbed.
Well, let me see. Oh, steady, Jameson. I'll pull it out.
Oh, be careful, sir. Oh. Oh!
There we are. And very interesting.
What is it, sir?
Oh, it's that big pin. You could have been hurt quite badly.
Well, if you ask me...
Come along, Jameson. We've got work to do.
And another thing, Mr. Barnes. We don't mind playing this little treasure hunt game of yours, but it's no fun when the prize is 2 bodies, especially if they happen to be our 2 bodies.
Oh, surely it was only an accident.
I wish I could believe that, Miss Waring.
But there's no rhyme, no reason for what's been happening. If the accident at the well was another attempt at murder, then all our lives could be in danger.
Steady, Cynthia, darling. I presume you have some idea of who the murderer might be, Mr. Lanyard.
You flatter me, Mr. Barnes.
I would think you had surely lined up 1 or 2 likely suspects, Mr. Lone Wolf.
Why don't you tell them about our friend Mr. Clinton, sir?
Clinton? Oh, well, there are some mighty interesting aspects to that road company Winchell. He was meeting Betty Larson secretly. At least that's what Hodges says.
I can believe that. Clinton would stoop to anything. I didn't want to have him around, but Cynthia felt that we should cater to him for the sake of publicity for the bazaar.
Hodges also insists that Clinton arranged for Miss Larson to enter the beauty contest, and that Clinton promised her that she would win. And there's the little incident at the well.
If you ask me, Clinton is in this thing right up to his clues.
Help! Mr. Barnes! Somebody come out here, hurry!
That sounds like Hodges.
He's right out there at the side of the house.
Well, come on. We can go through these French windows.
In here, in the bushes, you better hurry.
What is it, Hodges? What's wrong?
I don't know. Don't ask me. I don't know anything about it.
Great heavens, look at Clinton.
Oh, I can't stand it. I can't stand it. What awful things are going on. No,
I don't know how it happened. I was just coming down the path. There in the bushes, he was lying right
He's
there.
done for, all right, Mr. Lanyard. Shot. Murdered.
Murdered? You did this, Hodges. You said you'd get even with Clinton. Now you've done
I
it.
tell you, I don't know anything about it. I was just walking down along the path. I don't know anything about
It's
it.
all right, Hodges. You'll have an opportunity to prove your innocence.
Don't you have some theory about all this, Mr. Lanyard? And
There, Miss Waring. I think I can promise you at least that there won't be any more murders. Hold the flashlight a little higher, Jameson, on the clock on the mantelpiece.
Yes, sir. Just as you say, sir. But aren't we taking a bit of a risk, Mr. Lanyard? Leaving the estate without checking with the sheriff?
Shh, quiet, Jameson. If I don't find what I'm looking for here in Clinton's apartment, I'm afraid we'll have a lot of explaining to do.
I'd just as soon we didn't go back. There's been 2 murders already, and they say things come in threes.
How interesting. Jameson, why do you think I've got you flashing the light on that clock on the mantelpiece?
Well, sir, I'm a bit rusty. I think it might be safe to say, well, it would be safe.
Exactly, Jameson. You never fail. The safe behind the clock on the mantelpiece.
I say, I was right. Ingenious, eh, Mr. Lanyard?
You have your moments. Well, it's a long time since I've operated in this fashion, but we'll see, Jameson.
If you don't mind, sir, this is like old times.
I do mind, Jameson, but unfortunately, certain situations are born of necessity.
Then allow me to compliment you, sir. You haven't lost the old touch.
No, I'm not so sure. There we are.
Not much of a haul, if you ask me. Nothing but a stack of letters and a notebook.
Let's have a look.
All that trouble just for a bundle of papers. Just a waste of good time and talent. There could have been a pound of butter or a gas coupon or a back axle or...
Aha!
I say, what's so interesting?
Just the...
Did you find a clue to the murders?
Just the motive, Jameson. Just the motive.
Look here, you can't keep me here, Sheriff. All I did was find Clinton. You can't hang a guy for that.
Keep your shirt on, Hodges. Nobody moves out of this room till Lanyard shows up. If he doesn't come in 5 minutes, I'm going to put out a call and have him pulled in.
Seems to me that Mr. Lanyard has admitted his guilt by disappearing.
Well, whatever the case may be, I think you should allow me to go. After all, this is my house, and I do have guests. They might think it rather strange if their host isn't around.
Look, Mr. Barnes, party or no party, there's been a couple of murders committed around this joint, and everybody in this room is under suspicion.
Really, Sheriff? If you're going to keep us here and allow Mr. Lanyard to stay...
Good evening, Sheriff. Jameson, say good evening to the sheriff. He's been very patient, I hope.
Good evening, sir. Constable. Sheriff.
All right, you two. You'd better make it good. Running away from the scene of the crime won't sit so well in court.
Please accept my apologies, Sheriff.
Well, now that you're here, Mr. Lanyard, perhaps we can clear up this nasty mess.
Yes. I presume you've been spending your time checking up on the murders, Mr. Lanyard.
That's right. And I've uncovered a few details which I'm sure will prove most interesting, Miss Waring.
You're wasting time, Lanyard. Somebody in this room has been running around committing murders, and I'm going to find out who it is or die
trying.
Who said that?
Oh, if it's all the same to you, Sheriff, I think I'll join the other guests.
Now, isn't that thoughtful of you? Get away from that door before you tempt me to bring the murder score up to 3.
Do as he says, Jameson. After all, you don't want to miss all the fun. In just a minute, you're going to have the pleasure of meeting the murderer.
Yes, that's just what I'm afraid of, sir.
All right, Lanyard. Let's have it.
Very well, Sheriff. First, allow me to review events from the beginning. Just as Jameson and I were leaving for Mr. Barnes's residence, we received a rather unusual telephone message. It was Betty Larson. That was about 2 p.m., wouldn't you say, Jameson?
5 minutes after 2, to be exact, sir.
Thank you. We arrived at Mr. Barnes's estate by 3:30. At 5, Jameson and I went for a swim in the pool. It was then we found Miss Larson. At what time did the coroner examine her, Sheriff?
Around 7 in the evening. But what difference does it make? The poor girl had been dead for 10 hours.
All the difference in the world, my dear fellow. Simple arithmetic will show you that it was impossible for Miss Larson to call me at 2 o'clock. At 2 o'clock, she'd already been dead for 5 hours.
Hodges, you did it. You paid someone to make that call.
You're crazy. I had nothing to do with it.
Pipe down, Hodges. Go on, Lanyard.
Sheriff, what do you think was used to murder Miss Larson?
Well,
Could this have been the weapon?
The pin, the one I fell on when the well exploded.
Yes, Jameson. Let me paint a rather gruesome picture for you, Sheriff. Miss Larson is called down to the edge of the swimming pool. Someone who poses as a friend suggests that she try on a hat. In trying it on, our murderer, pretending to assist, neatly jabs Miss Larson and thrusts the pin through the base of her brain.
Oh, how horrible. Could I examine the pin, please?
Why, of course, Mr. Barnes.
Why, it's a hat pin. Well, Cynthia, it's the one you had in the large hat you wore in that beauty contest. Cynthia, it was you.
All right, stand back, all of you.
Look here, sister, you can't get away with this.
Shut up! And listen, all of you.
I assure you I know how to handle this gun, and I'm not afraid to use it.
Cynthia,
Stand back, Hodges.
I don't get you, Cynthia. What earthly reason would you have for killing Betty? She wanted to be your friend.
That's a laugh. Listen, little boy Blue. A telephone operator sometimes hears too much for her own good. How do you think she got all those fine furs? From some boyfriend? No, she was too daffy about you, so she decided to try her hand at blackmail.
Blackmail?
That's right. Only she pushed me just a bit too far.
Why,
Get
you...
back, all of you. You, prune face.
Who? Who, me?
I don't mean your brother. Open the door. Go on, open it.
Yes. Yes, ma'am.
Now stand back, all of you. Ha. Very amusing picture. That's right, Mr. Lanyard. Step forward just a little. I'd like to thank you for spoiling a most delightful weekend. Here's a little something to remember me by.
Jameson, are you all right?
Yes, I think so, sir.
Oh, thank heaven.
Yeah, you did a good job, Jameson. You not only saved Mr. Lanyard from getting shot, but when you fell against this door, you also managed to knock Miss Waring colder than a doornail.
Oh, it was nothing, really.
And as for you, sister, maybe these bracelets will keep you out of trouble. Because when you come to, you're going to find yourself booked for murder.
Double murder, Sheriff. Dig the bullet out of the wall over there, and you'll find it will match the one found in Clinton's body.
Well, what do you know? Come on, Hodges, give me a hand.
Okay, Sheriff.
I can't believe it. Why, Cynthia and I had so many plans together. It's hard to believe that she could be responsible for those horrible murders.
I'm afraid she was. Mr. Barnes, this is Mr. Clinton's notebook. Several canceled checks and a few letters. Look them over, and you'll discover that your dream girl, Miss Cynthia Waring, has quite a number of aliases, and in certain circles has a reputation for landing the biggest fish in the pool. Then, after she's collected enough money, she tosses them back. You were her next victim, Mr. Barnes. And as for the unfortunate Mr. Clinton, being a newspaperman and gossip columnist, he ferreted out her little scheme and, in turn, was blackmailing Miss Waring. Well, ladies and gentlemen, I guess that just about puts the cap on that story of our little adventure at the estate of Rutherford Barnes. Miss Cynthia Waring was a very shrewd and fast-thinking young lady. She got one victim with a gun. She almost got Jameson and me at the old well when the gasoline exploded, all of which began with the first and most ingenious of the murders, the particularly cold-blooded murder of Betty Larson with that hat pin. And, Jameson, of course, we have you to thank for having discovered that most important bit of evidence, the pin itself.
Yes, Mr. Lanyard. And I must say, I got quite a lift out of that myself when I discovered it.
Now, Jameson, remember your promise. Suffice it to say, you discovered the pin. The hard way, I admit.
Oh, yes, sir. There's no doubt about that. The criminal would never have been stuck in the final analysis if I hadn't sat down and got myself stuck.
That will be all, Jameson. Good night, ladies and gentlemen.
And so closes Murder Goes for a Swim, starring Warren William with Eric Blore. The first appearance of the lone wolf on the air, and tonight's tale of suspense. This is your narrator, the man in black, who conveys to you Columbia's invitation to spend this half hour in suspense with us again next week, when Laird Kriegar will star in the suspense play, The Last Letter of Dr. Bronson, with a cast of 4 distinguished Hollywood players, Helen Vinson, Harold Huber, Jan Wolfe, and Theodore von Eltz. The producer of these broadcasts is William Spear, who, with Robert Louis Cheon, the guest director, Bernard Herman and Lucienne Marowick, conductor and composer, collaborated on tonight's Suspense
This is CBS, the Columbia Broadcasting System.
It's intermission time at the Baba Ghoulie Show. Time to refresh yourself and visit our snack bar. Got a yen for some hot popcorn? How's about your favorite soft drinks, which are sparkling cold? And there's all kinds of candy to tempt you. It's radio time, folks. Enjoy the rest of the program.
Let's all go to the lobby. Let's all go to the lobby. Let's all go to the lobby to get ourselves a treat.
Delicious things to eat.
The popcorn can't be beat. The sparkling drinks are just dandy. The chocolate bars and the candy. So let's all go to the lobby to get ourselves a treat. Let's all go to the lobby to get ourselves a treat.
Hope you're enjoying today's radio program. When it's done, be sure to check out our channel over at Watchwaddle. Enjoy some tunes with a nice cold soda.
But how else can we explain these terrible deaths? One else last night, 5 others before him. That's 6 within as many weeks, Inspector. Our friends, neighbors that we'd known for years, drained of their life's blood, found dead in bed, lifeless skeletons of skin and bone. Vampires are at large, I tell you. Vampires.
Yeah. Malignant demons who issue forth from their graves in the dead of night to attack their victims and drink the blood from their veins.
Brrr. Gotten him of Brettschneider, don't jest.
That blood-sucking legend belongs in the same category with werewolves and all other peasant superstitions.
But the bats, man. The bats. God, yes. Big ones, so.
Oh, now we're switching to bats again.
There was an epidemic of giant bats in Klein Schloss in 1643. And at the same time, there was an outbreak of vampirism.
Rot.
Why, this record from the town archive proves it.
Says it, not proves it.
Well, I'll show you. I'll show you. Now, here it is. And on this day was von Hausmann hanged from a gibbet in the public square after being convicted on a proven charge of vampirism. And on this same day, there did occur the departure of the bats, thousands of horrible flying creatures which infested the town for weeks. And on the night of this same day, February 13, in the year of our Lord, 1643, was there a stake driven through von Hausmann's heart and his head cut off with a grave digger's shovel. There.
Well, all the records in the world can't make me believe in vampires. There are blood-sucking bats, yes. In South America, thousands of miles from here, but not in Kleinschloss.
But bats fly. They could fly here. You saw the bodies. All of them. 2 wounds on the neck, right at the jugular vein. 2 wounds on the neck, pierced and spread apart just as if 2 fang-like teeth had bitten through the flesh and right into the veins. And in every case, a blood clot, 8 inches from the victim's neck. The mark of the feast, the devil's signature.
Does that appear the mark of a human being or a demon's?
God save us, the devil's.
You ought to make a pretty fair meal for a vampire. But let's be consistent. Are these human vampires or bats?
Vampires can take the shape of a human or a bat, just as they choose.
Oh, they're magicians. Well, it doesn't make sense to me.
The whole village is in terror. We live in closed houses, behind locked doors and bolted shutters, not daring to close our eyes, fearful lest this unseen, silent death may find us in our sleep, for it is then that it strikes. Swiftly, silently, ghastly. My room is tightly closed. The windows are barred, nailed down. Nothing can get in. Nothing.
But they tell me vampires can go through stone walls like that.
God save me. So they can. We've got to do something, I tell you. Klein Schloss will become a deserted village.
Well, you might catch all the bats and drown them in the river.
Karl.
While you're hunting for vampires and chasing bats, I'm looking for a human being. A murderer, a fiend.
Well, then don't jest about it. Do something.
I'm trying to. Every hour, every day, every night since this thing started.
Do you hear it? Hear it? Yes. Night after night. Lying awake until dawn. Waiting.
For what?
I don't know.
That's what I thought. Good night, gentlemen. Don't let the vampires get you. Are your kisses dynamite?
Don't you like my kisses? Well, how's my mastermind this evening?
Well, if you want the truth, not so good.
The Burgermeister and his Grand Council still stick to the vampire theory.
Stick to it. Huh. They're quoting history to prove it. I think you and Dr. von Niemann are the only sane people left in the village.
And you? What about you?
Me? Well, I'm beginning to think I'm 7 different kinds of a fool. Murders are being done under my very nose. I must be as blind as the bats themselves. I can't find a single clue.
Oh, but you will, Carl. You will.
Well, I haven't.
Oh, Ruth!
And here comes dear Aunt Gussie to spread good cheer and hope.
Just what I thought. Slaving your life away in this awful place. It hasn't got that nice, clean, wholesome smell of a hospital. How are you, Carl?
Oh, quite well, thank you.
Well, I'm not. This clammy old place is bound to give me pericarditis, enterocolitis, neuritis, well, anyway, rheumatism. You have some coffee?
No, thank you, Frau Stammmann.
No, it's just as well. There's only 2 cups. Yeah. That'll take the chill out of your bones.
Thank you.
Speaking of chills, Frau Schnappmann, did you know the village is supposed to be infested with ghouls and vampires?
Oh, Carl.
Vampires. Pariahs among fiends. Demoniacal creatures with huge canine teeth who bite deeply into the necks of their victims to quaff and gorge on blood. Warm human blood.
There's no such thing as a vampire, Karl Brettschneider. I don't believe in it. You're just saying that to frighten me. And I just won't be frightened. I'm entirely too sensible to believe in such rubbish.
I beg pardon.
Oh, so it's you.
I'm sorry if I frightened you.
Who said you frightened me? I'm not afraid of anything.
Could you tell me where Dr. von Niemann is?
We drove to the village to see Martha, the old apple woman.
Thank you.
Is this what Dr. Haupt prescribed?
Yes, sir. She takes it in water.
Well, continue giving it to her.
Yes, sir.
It's stifling in here. Open these windows.
Herman open windows. Me do.
Well, she'll sleep well now, poor soul. It won't be necessary for you to stay here. A good night's sleep will work wonders for her.
It was kind of you to come, Doctor.
Oh. Martha has sold me apples for many years. Always a good, ripe, juicy one.
Martha give me apples. I like.
Oh, Sophie. Oh, Margaret.
She wants her cross.
Herman get. Here. Now, there. For Martha. There. No.
She won't let it out of her sight.
A terrible experience. To be attacked by a giant bat is enough to shatter anyone's nerves.
She talks about it all the time. How it flew in her face and tried to sink its teeth in her throat.
No. Bats no do. They soft. Like cat. They not bite Herman.
Be quiet, Herman. See what you've done.
There, Martha, there. She'll be all right. If she isn't, let me know.
Thank you for coming, Doctor.
That's all right. Good night.
Good night. Run along, Herman. You can see Martha tomorrow.
Oh. Dr. Von Niemann.
Ah, Kringen, how are you?
Much better, thank you kindly, sir, since you prescribed for me.
That's right.
Go to bed, Herman. Go to bed. You shouldn't be prowling around the streets. Dangerous. Oh. I'm afraid.
Afraid? Afraid of what, Kringen?
The bats, sir. Big giant bats with wings like an eagle's.
You saw this bat, you say?
I saw it swooping down the street. It came directly for my throat, sir.
When was this, Kringen?
Last night when they came to take Von Els. It was a big monstrous thing. I saw it leap across the alley and into a window. I ran just as fast as my legs could carry me.
You said nothing about this?
There's enough fear in the village already. Maybe I should. Maybe I should. I will. I'll tell the Burgermeister.
Yes, Kringen. That's the thing to do.
No. Bats. Bats good. They not hurt Herman. He plays with them. You no tell. No. No. Go to bed, Herman. Go on. Go to bed.
You say he plays with bats?
His garret is filled with them. He makes pets of them.
That's odd. Very odd.
Maybe he's it. Herman prowls around the streets all hours of the night, just like an animal. Maybe he's the vampire.
Now, don't start any gossip of that, Kringen. Heaven only knows where it might end. Good night.
Good night, sir. There. Now. Soft. Nice. There. See? What did I tell you?
Perhaps there's something in what Kringen says.
Seems strange that a human being should want to play with bats.
He isn't human, I tell you. He's in league with the devil.
Put it on. Put it on. There. Thanks. Now go to sleep. You'll be all right in a few days. The doctor says so. Close the window. Close the window. I'm afraid. The vampire. Well, he said leave them open, but I'd have them closed. Do you want the light? Leave the light. I'm afraid. Well, I can't blame you for that either. I'll turn it down a little. Good night. If you want me, just pound on the floor. I'll hear you. All right. Good night. Good night, Martha. Oh.
Karl Brettschneider is here to see you, sir. He's in the laboratory with Miss Burton.
Oh, thank you. Ah, here you are.
Good evening, Doctor.
Good evening, Ruth. How are you, Carl?
Well, I'd feel a lot better if I could find a solution to these murders.
You don't believe in this vampire theory, then?
Of course not. Do you?
There are many strange happenings, my boy. Many mysteries beyond the power of the human mind to comprehend.
Have you a theory which might explain these deaths?
Well, I'll be pleased to discuss it with you, but not now. I have some very important work to do.
Well, tomorrow, then.
Tomorrow? Yes, perhaps. We'll see. Oh, this isn't so important, Miss Betty, that you can't let it go till tomorrow.
All right, thank you, Doctor. Oh, how about Martha?
Huh? Oh, nothing serious. Just a case of nerves, that's all. Good night.
Good night.
Good night, Doctor.
Good night, Carl. Name.
Martha Muller.
Age.
I don't know.
Cause of death.
Like all the rest.
The vampire.
Yes, that's so.
When I said I was going to tell you, his eyes glowed up like coals of fire. His hand reached out towards me, as if he were going to sink it into my throat.
And weigh this well. He never works and never begs, and yet he appears well-fed always.
That's so, he does.
Well, what does he live on, then? I'll wager it's as Kringen says.
And my woman was in Martha's room tonight when Herman put a flower in her hand.
Strange business, if you ask me. Mighty strange.
I hate to be in your shoes, Kringen.
Yes, after what happened tonight, I'd lock myself in my room and pray God to protect me from the devil.
Good evening, and Oster. Good evening.
Dr. von Niemann. Doctor.
Vampire.
Well, what do you make of it, Doctor?
Are these two wounds similar to those found in the other bodies?
Dr. Haupt can answer that for you, sir.
Yes, they were the same in every case.
This is a strange condition, Karl. So strange that I doubt the evidence of my eyes. What was your conclusion, Haupt?
I diagnosed the wounds as having been made by needle-sharp teeth. Punctures are clean cut, penetrating into, but not beyond, the jugular vein.
Do you mean to say that you also believe they could have been made by teeth?
Frankly, I do.
Ah, you see, Brettschneider?
What kind of teeth, Doctor?
An animal of some sort. It's hard to say. The fangs of a wolf, perhaps.
A werewolf.
Could they have been made by, well, a bat, for instance?
A certain species, yes. There are vampire bats. Dr. William Jamison, who explored many of the tributaries of the upper Amazon, states that blood-sucking bats do exist. He further asserts that the victims often become blood drinkers themselves, citing a case in which he saw a native tortured to death in an anthill by his tribe brothers. They swore he had become a human bat, and, states Jamison, he confessed it.
Do you mean to say that such a thing as a human vampire is possible?
Who can say? Historic records would have us believe that an evil soul, assuming there is such, can take any shape it pleases.
So why not into that of a human being? Eh, Karl? Why not?
Have you any literature on the subject, Doctor?
Yes, I have many interesting volumes on my shelves that might prove very enlightening. I'll be glad to show them to you.
I don't mind admitting that I'm up a tree. Stumped.
Well, we'll see what can be done, my boy.
No, Herman. This is no place for you. Go away, my boy. Go away.
Good night, John.
Good night, Doctor.
Good night, Haupt.
Good night, Doctor.
In the morning, Karl.
Thank you, Doctor. I'm sorry to have dragged you out at an ungodly hour.
Oh, that's all right. That's all right. A child fleeing in horror from the sight of death.
There goes the vampire. Arrest him. Lock him up. Kill him.
Has the entire village gone mad? Herman wouldn't harm a baby, and you know it.
I've walked the streets of this village for over 40 years, but tonight's the end. He knows that I've told he plays with bats. He knows that I saw him sneak into Martha's house just before midnight.
Perhaps he was taking her another flower, Kringan. The boy brought her one this evening while I was there.
He killed her just like he did all the rest. And now he's going to kill me. Unless he's killed an instinctive into his heart, I'm a doomed man. He'll kill me. He'll kill me. I'm doomed. He'll kill me. He'll kill me. I'm a doomed man. He'll kill me.
Good morning, Mr. Brettschneider. What brings you to Klein Schloss so early?
You.
Fibber. I heard the doctor tell Georgiana he expected you.
I knew there was something else.
You're a delightful prevaricator, Carl, but not a very convincing one.
You don't mind me using your stethoscope, do you, Doctor?
Not at all, Frau Schnappmann. But what seems to be the ailment this morning?
What's that? Oh.
What seems to be the ailment this morning?
Well, Doctor, I am positive that I have valvular leakage of the aorta. Or maybe it's the right ventricle. There is something wrong with my heart. I can hear it beat, thump, 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 just like the book says.
Well, if you didn't hear it beating thump, 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 just as the book says, I would say there is something wrong.
What? Without a moon?
You have a heart of stone.
All right, then. Close your eyes. No.
Oh, so, young lady.
It's too early in the morning, Carl. Much too early.
Oh, is it?
Oh, there's Aunt Gussie.
She would show up just at a time like this.
Well, Aunt Gussie, what's the matter now?
I have palpitation of the auricular, ventricular, and mitral valves with a cardiac tendency.
You mean your heart's beating?
Of course it's beating. Dr. Von Neelan tried to assure me, but I know it's serious. I'm liable to go just like that.
Did he prescribe for you, dear?
Yes, monacid ester, salicylic acid.
You mean salicylic acid, don't you?
Salicylic. Help me. My heart is much quieter. Hello, Carl.
Hello.
Oh, Carl, you'll be good to her when I'm gone, won't you?
Yes, of course I will, Frau Schnappmann.
Well, I'm not gone yet. You can't marry her unless I say so. Don't forget that. Oh, my heart.
There, Auntie, you'll be all right. Just rest a while. What you need is...
What?
Rest, dear, and quiet. And Gussie has a heart like a steam engine. Come on.
kitty poo. Tiny baby, come on. Come on, kitty poo. Oh, dear Dad, baby. Come on, kitty poo. Come on. Oh, the tickle, you nasty little beast. Oh.
Don't you know it's wrong to steal? You've cut yourself.
See? Blood.
Yes. Stop it, stop it.
No hurt me. No hurt.
Oh, you poor thing. Now, you wait right here, and I'll run in the house and get something for that finger. A subcutaneous wound like that might easily result in a tetanus infection.
Tetanus.
Tetanus. Lockjaw. Not that you need be afraid. From the way you talk, I think you've got it already. Look, here's a nice juicy apple for you.
Ah, this is it. Traits sur les impressions des esprits et sur les vampires by Augustin Dom Calame in 1746. Let us suppose that these corpses do not actually stir from their tombs, that only the ghosts or spirits appear to the living. Wherefore do these phantoms present themselves, and what is it that energizes them? Is it actually the soul of the dead man which has not yet departed to its final destination?
Fiddlesticks. Now, how could a corpse buried under 4 or 5 feet of earth get out to do any such foolishness? I don't believe it.
It's a fair question, Doctor. How could it?
Well, according to accepted theory, the vampire dematerializes its body and reintegrates it outside the grave.
It's a good explanation, if you can believe it. And while I'm standing here listening to all this rubbish, there's a poor man in the garden in danger of a tetanus infection. Now, what should I do for him, Doctor? Shall I apply mercurochrome or 2% solution of bichloride?
Well, either will do. Get some gauze and some mercurochrome.
Thank you, Doctor. I'll wait here.
Difficult to believe, isn't it?
It's impossible to believe. And yet, it would explain these deaths, wouldn't it?
Ah, Brettschneider. Pardon our intrusion, Dr. von Niemann. But after what you saw last night, you'll be interested in this as well.
Well, what's happened?
Kringen was found dead an hour ago, with the 2 punctures in his neck and not a drop of blood in his body. And what's more, Herman Glieb has disappeared.
What?
Now you're convinced that we were right and you were wrong?
Thought it'd be proof enough for anybody. Kringen said Herman would get him, and he did.
Well, Brettschneider?
I appoint you my deputy. Organize a searching party and comb this countryside from one end to the other. Find Herman Glieb and bring him in, but don't harm him. Do you understand?
What good will that do? He is a vampire. There's only one thing for us to do when we find him. Kill him and drive a stake through his
Herman
heart.
Glieb will be tried by a court of law. If the charge against him is proven true, the law will decide what to do with him, not you. Now get your men together and do as I tell you.
That's the way to talk.
I'm going into town for a little while, Doctor. Would you care to come along?
Oh, I hardly believe so. There's little to be done until they find the boy. If you need me then,
All right, thanks. I'll let you know.
I feel I was going to faint.
Oh, there, Auntie. There's nothing here to be afraid of. Here comes Emil with your mercurochrome and bandages. Run along now and take care of that patient of yours.
Oh, heavens, I forgot all about him. Oh. Oh, my heart. Oh.
Poor Auntie. She's had every ailment in the book.
And a lot aren't, I'm afraid.
Particularly a palpitation of the auriculoventricular, tricuspid, and mitral valve, Doctor.
Well, I had to tell her something to satisfy her.
Come on, men. Come on. We've got him. He can't get away. going back to the village with us. Come on. We won't hurt you.
No, won't go. Herman afraid.
Come on. You're going with us, Herman.
No.
You're going with us.
No.
Come on.
No.
Come on. Get him. Come on, Herman. We won't hurt you. Come on.
No.
Come, that settles him.
Yes, let's go. We're
Hey.
down the road.
You've got to make certain.
I won't go down there.
Nobody asked you to. I'll go myself.
Can you see him?
He's on a ledge about 50 feet down. I'll get a rope. We've got to make certain, I tell you.
You must be careful, Emil. Very careful. No. It must be. She's no better than the rest. I've got to go on.
It's you, Doctor. Good evening. I'm sorry to have to disturb you, Doctor, but we simply couldn't make Georgiana hear the bell.
That's quite all right, my dear. Georgiana's becoming careless. Very careless.
Yes, I've noticed that too. In my opinion, she has Nagana. That's sleeping sickness. You know the symptoms, Doctor. At first I thought it was creeping paralysis, so I stuck a pin in her leg to see. And there was a splendid reaction of the reflex motor nerve.
Why, Auntie.
Oh, you're shocked. So was she.
Won't you join me in some coffee?
Yes, thanks, Doctor. We will. There are a few questions I'd like to ask you, Paul.
About blood and murders and vampires, I suppose.
Yes, I'm afraid so.
Oh, so am I. Well, good night. If such a thing is possible, I'm going to bed.
Won't you join us too, Frau Schnappmann?
Coffee at this hour of the night? No, thank you. I'm going to stick to my monacid ester salicylic salad. Acid, Doctor, acid. Good night.
What's the news in the village, Karl? Have they located Herman yet?
No, not a trace of him. I hate to think of that poor misfit being hunted down like a dog. You know, I simply can't bring myself to believe in that vampire theory.
Will you pour, Ruth?
Certainly.
I know, Karl. Our saner, calmer judgment tells us that such things can't be, and yet, here, for instance, in this ponderous tome, are cited 1,001 phobias and complexes that human beings are heir to. Some of them are strange, more untenable even than werewolves and vampires. Could I have some more, please?
You drink entirely too much coffee.
Well, it's my one weakness. And also my excuse for tolerating Georgiana's laxity and other things. She does know how to make good coffee. Thank you. She brings it to me every night at exactly 10 o'clock. And when I've drunk it all, then I know it's time to quit.
Yes, and eat breakfast so you can have more coffee.
Oh.
Georgiana, you mustn't lie like that. You'll get yourself a torticolis. No, sit next. Georgiana.
That was Auntie. Auntie.
Oh, I'm all right. I'm all right now. Oh, so
Amy, help Frau Schnappmann to her room.
I'm silly imagination. I imagine myself, Georgia.
The same 2 wounds, Doctor.
And my last words to her were angry ones. A petulant reprimand for being late with my coffee.
What time is that?
About 2 or 3 minutes after 10.
She's been dead then about 45 minutes. Bloodless like the rest. It passes all belief. Ruth's aunt saw Herman Glieb in the garden this morning. Could it be that he... You were the first one here. What happened?
I was in my room reading. My door was open. I must have dozed off for a minute or so because I awoke to hear Frau Schnappmann scream.
You say your door was open?
Yes, my room was very poorly ventilated.
And you saw nothing? Heard nothing unusual?
Nothing.
Karl.
What is it?
This crucifix belonged to Martha. See who it is, Emil.
Can you positively identify this as belonging to Martha?
Without a doubt. I saw it in her room the night she died.
How in the world did it get here?
Herman Glieb was in her room. He had that crucifix in his hands. And Herman was here today.
Maybe here now, for all we know.
Who is it?
Oh. How is she?
She's had a real shock this time, but she'll be all right. I'm putting her to bed.
Leave her there.
Don't let her out of this room. And don't you leave it either.
What do you mean?
It looks as if Herman Glieb is the killer after all. It's possible he may be hiding here in the castle.
Why, what makes you think so?
I'll tell you later. Stay in your room and keep your door locked.
Don't worry about that.
I heard every word he said, and I don't think there's any use of them searching for Herman. They should look for a dog, a human-faced dog.
Andy, the doors and windows are all locked. There's nothing to be afraid of now.
Well, who said I was afraid? I'm not a bit afraid.
No, of course you're not afraid, but you must get some rest.
Rest in this awful place? With dog-faced Hermans and human-faced bats and blood and murders and vampires.
Find anything, Karl?
There's an unbroken cobweb in that window. If Herman did it, he came through the door.
He must have. And yet I don't understand how he could find his way up here without us hearing him. Yet Amy was asleep, and I was in the library. Yes, he could have done it. The facts all point to it. What was it, Emil?
The Burgermeister. He has news for Herr Brettschneider about Herman.
Oh.
Pardon the intrusion, Doctor. Pardon the intrusion. I knew Karl was here, and I thought you wouldn't mind if I ran in to tell him the news.
About Herman?
Yes. He fell into the Devil's Well in the cave.
He's dead?
Dead as a doornail. This ends our troubles, Karl. The vampire's dead. I can feel it in my bones.
Well, your bones may be wrong. What time did this happen?
Quite early, about 9 o'clock. The cave is nearly 2 hours from here. That's why we didn't hear it sooner.
Well, it may interest you to know that there's been another death after your vampire died.
Who?
Dr. von Niemann's housekeeper. Right here in her own room.
Mother of mercy. What are we going to do?
Well, a natural death wouldn't kill a vampire, Karl. You know the accepted theory. A stake driven through the heart.
Oh, yes, that's the theory, all right.
But...
But what?
But they did. They drove a stake through his heart.
Good God, are we living in the Middle Ages?
It wasn't through my sanction, Karl. Basawa did it. He told me so himself.
Well, that ends the vampire theory as far as I'm concerned. Herman Glieb died in the accepted fashion for killing a vampire. Oh, no, there's some human agency at work here, Doctor. A madman who kills to satisfy some violent, sadistic urge.
Yes, you're right, Karl. I've been a fool, a superstitious fool.
Did they leave his body in the cave?
Yes. Yes, they did.
Well, in view of what's happened, don't you think you owe him a decent burial?
You're right. In view of what has happened, we do owe him that, Karl. I'll see to it at once, this very instant. And I'll make arrangements for Georgiana's removal to the morgue. Good night, Doctor. Pardon the intrusion.
Good night, Gustav.
Pardon the intrusion.
Well, here I am, just where I started weeks ago. There isn't a single theory that doesn't lead straight into a stone wall. I've jested about this vampire business because my better judgment told me it was a lot of nonsense. Then I reached the point where I was willing to accept even that, because it seemed to satisfy the equation.
All of us are a bit superstitious.
I don't know which way to turn, where to look, what to look for. Why should anyone want human blood? Why? Why?
Calm yourself, Karl.
Calm myself. Calm myself. With all these unsolved murders staring me in the face and no solution in sight? How much blood is there in the human body, Doctor?
About 6 liters, approximately.
Can you think of any purpose for which that amount of blood might be used?
No. Not even in transfusions.
That's the point which stops me. There isn't any other use for human blood. Murderers leave clues. And these atrocities are murders, Doctor. Those simple fools in the village can believe what they like, but you and I are sane, thinking people. And you know and I know, Doctor, that these are murders. The last one was done here. In this very house, right under this roof. All right, I'll start here. I'm going over every foot of this place, both inside and out. Nobody, sane or insane, is clever enough to get away with murder without leaving a clue of some sort. And I'm going to find that clue.
Oh, come, Carl. You mustn't let your nerves run away with you. Here. These will help to give you a good night's sleep. If there are any clues, they'll be here in the morning when your nerves are calm and your mind is clear. Take my advice and go home and rest.
I imagine 1,000 demons were after me as I came down those stairs.
Ruth, didn't I tell you to stay in your room?
Yes, but I wanted the doctor to come up and quiet Auntie. You know, it isn't her imagination this time.
Of course, Ruth, I'll come right away. Take my advice, young man. Go home and go to bed.
Good night, Carl.
Good night, Ruth.
Good night, Carl.
Good night, Doctor.
If his lights are on, you must wait, Emil. Wait until he has gone to bed. Handle him as you did the others, Emil. You are strong. Very strong. I am waiting for you. Waiting for you to bring him to the laboratory.
You're the one. What mad thing are you doing?
Mad? Is one who has solved the secret of life to be considered mad? Life, created in the laboratory. No mere crystalline growth, but tissue. Living, growing tissue. Life that moves, pulsates, and demands food for its continued growth. Huh. You shudder in horror. So did I the first time. But what are a few lives we weighed in the balance against the achievement of biological science? Think of it. I have lifted the veil. I have created life. Wrested the secret of life from life. Now do you understand? For the lives of those who have gone before, I have created life.
I'll tell Carl.
You may. For tonight, Carl's name will be added to yours. And all of those whom this achievement will immortalize.
I didn't take your sleeping tablets, Doctor.
Emil brought them here. He's the one who murdered them.
Stay where you are. You'll have a chance to tell everything, Doctor.
I'll take care of Von Niemann. Get her out of here.
You stay here. Von Niemann and Emil.
Doctor! Dr. Von Niemann!
Carl, she mustn't see them.
Where is Dr. Von Niemann? I must see him immediately.
Aunt Gussie, you can't. He can't be disturbed.
Oh, but I must see him. I simply must. That hydrous magnesium sulfate he gave me is affecting me most peculiarly. You'll pardon me?
Hydrous magnesium sulfate. Why, that's Epsom salts.
Thanks for watching the Baba Ghoulie Show by OTR Halloween Holidays. This is Waddle the Duck saying check out Channel Watch Waddle for some fun cartoons with no static.